First Contact and Revelation. The observation vessel Harmony drifted silently at the edge of the Sol system, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Earth's primitive detection systems. Commander Zelia stood on the command deck, her 4 eyes focused on the holographic display of the third planet. Behind her, Science Officer Tarek scrolled through data on a transparent screen. "What do you make of them, Tarek?" Zelia asked, her voice melodious in the way of all Antheri. "Fascinating," Tarek replied, his scaled hands moving rapidly through the information streams. "Another carbon-based bipedal species. Oxygen breathers. They call themselves humans. Technology level is mid-tier 3. They've achieved limited space travel within their system, but haven't developed FTL capabilities." Zalia nodded. The Galactic Concord had encountered hundreds of species at this development stage. Most were suitable candidates for eventual membership, given time and guidance. "Prepare the standard First Contact package," she ordered. "We'll establish communication through their global information network first, then arrange a physical meeting with their leadership council." Tarek hesitated, his brow ridges furrowing. "Commander, there's something unusual about these humans. Their historical records show concerning patterns." Zalia turned fully toward her science officer. "Elaborate." "They've been at war with themselves since before they developed written language," Tarek explained, projecting images onto the main display. "Thousands of conflicts spanning their entire recorded history. Their technological development accelerated dramatically during periods of warfare." The display showed battles fought with stone tools, metal weapons, gunpowder, and increasingly sophisticated technologies. The evolution of their weapons had progressed at an alarming rate. "Most species in the Concord evolved through cooperation," Tarek continued. "Our common evolutionary path was symbiosis and mutual benefit. These humans evolved through competition and conflict." Zelia studied the footage of human military exercises. Their movements were quick, decisive, showing a concerning comfort with organized violence that most Concord species had evolved beyond thousands of years ago. "Recommendations?" Zelia asked. "Caution," Tarek replied without hesitation. "These humans aren't like us. Their neural architecture shows heightened threat response systems, and they form hierarchical command structures instinctively during crisis." Despite these warnings, the Galactic Concord Council had already approved first contact with Earth. 3 days later, a gleaming silver diplomatic vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing at a prepared site outside New Geneva, the headquarters of Earth's United Governance. Director Elena Vasquez watched the alien ship touch down with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, proof that they weren't alone in the universe. Behind her stood General Marcus Chen, his posture rigid, eyes alert despite his diplomatic smile. The ship's ramp extended smoothly, and 3 aliens emerged. The leader, clearly distinguished by elaborate markings on her silvery blue skin, stepped forward. "I am Commander Zalia of the Galactic Concord," she said, her translator converting her musical language into Earth Standard. "On behalf of the 234 worlds of our peaceful alliance, I extend greetings to Earth." Elena stepped forward, performing the greeting gesture they had observed from intercepted Concord communications. "On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to Earth. I am Director Elena Vasquez of the United Governance." The formalities proceeded smoothly, but Elena noticed how the alien's eyes kept darting to the honor guard standing at attention nearby. Something about human military precision seemed to unsettle them. Over the following weeks, cultural exchanges proceeded. The Concord offered limited technological insights as a gesture of goodwill, while humanity shared art, music, and carefully sanitized historical records. But tensions simmered beneath the surface. During a private diplomatic dinner, Zalia finally addressed what had become increasingly obvious. "Your species' history is unique among those we've encountered," she said carefully. "Most Concord species evolved through cooperation, not conflict." General Chen, who had remained mostly silent during previous exchanges, placed his fork down deliberately. Evolution favors survivors. Commander, Earth wasn't kind to our ancestors. We survived by outthinking predators and competing tribes. And now, Zelia asked, your world appears unified and peaceful. Felina and Chen exchanged glances. We've learned to channel our competitive instincts, Alina explained, into exploration, scientific advancement, athletics. But you maintain military forces, Tarek observed. Chen smiled thinly. Old habits die hard. 6 months after first contact, Earth had been granted provisional membership in the Galactic Concord. Humanity began establishing outposts beyond their solar system, using Concord-approved FTL technology. Human adaptability impressed even the most skeptical Concord officials. Within months, they had modified Concord designs to work more efficiently with human physiology and thinking patterns. But not all members of the Concord welcomed humanity with open arms. The Vex, a crystalline species from the Outer Rim, had been vocal in their opposition to human inclusion. They are an evolutionary mistake, Vex Ambassador Christ declared before the Concord Council. Their minds are built for violence. They cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Most council members dismissed these concerns as xenophobic fear-mongering. Until the attack. Titan Research Station, humanity's farthest outpost in their home system, went silent without warning. All 47 researchers and security personnel were presumed dead. Investigation revealed the distinctive energy signature of Vex weapons. The Concord Council immediately convened an emergency session, with Commander Zelia herself delivering formal regrets to Director Vasquez. The Concord condemns this unsanctioned aggression. Zelia assured Vasquez, we have initiated formal proceedings against the responsible Vex faction. Justice will be served. In approximately how long? General Chen asked quietly. Zelia hesitated. Our justice system requires thorough evidence gathering, multiple hearings, and unanimous council approval for punitive action. The process typically takes 6 to 8 standard cycles. 8 months, Elena translated, her expression hardening. And in the meantime, we recommend you enhance your defensive capabilities and wait for proper justice to take its course, Zelia replied. The meeting concluded cordially, but as soon as the Concord representatives departed, Elena turned to Chen. Options. The general's face was grim. The 7th Fleet has been retrofitted with modified Concord drive systems. Our weapons systems have been enhanced based on principles we've learned. We lack experience in interstellar combat, but the Vex are poorly organized and overconfident. Elena considered this silently. The decision before her was momentous. No human military force had ever engaged in combat beyond the solar system. The diplomatic implications were enormous. Deploy the 7th Fleet, she ordered finally. Authorization code Delta 9. 3 weeks later, Commander Zelia was reviewing routine reports when an urgent transmission arrived from the border monitoring station. The footage showed what remained of the Vex outpost on Helios 3, or rather, what didn't remain. The entire facility had been reduced to crystalline fragments scattered across the moon's surface. Tactical analysis indicated precision strikes had first disabled defenses, then communication systems, before methodically destroying every critical structure. More footage arrived showing the human fleet had not just attacked one base, but systematically eliminated every known Vex military outpost in 3 different star systems. The operation had been executed with shocking efficiency. Additional intelligence revealed the humans had somehow infiltrated Vex communication networks before attacking. They had sent false information, creating confusion about which outposts were under attack. They had used electronic warfare techniques to turn the Vex's own defense systems against them. They achieved in 3 weeks what our planning committee estimated would require a year-long campaign. Tarek noted, his voice hushed with a mixture of awe and horror. Days later, Zelia addressed an emergency session of the Concord Council. Representatives from all member species had gathered to discuss what many were calling the human problem. The humans did not simply defeat the Vex aggressors, Zelia explained. displaying tactical analysis. They obliterated them. The humans use tactics our military strategists struggle to comprehend. Feints within feints, psychological warfare, and a willingness to sacrifice that no modern Concord species possesses. The representative from Mira, a species known for their logical approach, raised a tentacle for attention. Did they violate any Concord laws in their response? Technically, no, Zelia admitted. They attacked only confirmed Vex military installations. They gave opportunity for surrender. They took no action against civilian targets. Then why does this concern us? Asked another representative. Zelia displayed final footage of the campaign, showing the last Vex stronghold collapsing under precision bombardment. They fight like our ancestors did before civilization. She told the council, her voice grave, but with modern technology and methodical precision. They don't just defeat enemies, they'd break their will to fight. The implications hung heavy in the chamber. Humanity had revealed itself not as a developing species in need of guidance, but as a military force unlike anything the peaceful Concord had seen in thousands of years. The invaders and Earth's gambit. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concord was rarely filled to capacity. Today, however, every seat was taken, with representatives from all member species gathered for what many called the most important vote in 5 centuries. The chamber itself was a marvel of alien architecture, a perfect dome with walls that shifted colors according to the emotional tenor of discussions. Today, they pulsed with anxious amber. At the center of the chamber stood High Counselor Ilara, her tall, slender form draped in the formal indigo robes of her office. The chamber's lighting highlighted the iridescent patterns on her skin as she addressed the assembled representatives. "We have reviewed all evidence regarding the human response to the Vex attacks," Ilara said, her voice carrying clearly through the hushed space. "We have also studied the complete history of human warfare, which spans over 10,000 years. Holographic projections appeared around the chamber, showing scenes from human conflicts through the ages. Ancient warriors with spears and shields, armies firing primitive projectile weapons, modern tactical units with advanced weaponry. In all our history," Ilara continued, "the Concord has never encountered a species whose development was so shaped by conflict." In the diplomatic viewing section, Director Vasquez sat silently as the sole human present. She had been the subject of many nervous glances throughout the proceedings. Vasquez maintained perfect composure, her hands folded neatly in her lap, her expression revealing nothing. "The question before us is not whether humans are dangerous," Ilara said. "The evidence clearly indicates they are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. The question is how we should respond to this fact." A representative from the aquatic world of Nereus raised a webbed hand. "I propose exclusion. The humans should be isolated until they evolve beyond their violent tendencies." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, but Ilara raised a hand for silence. "The Committee for Interspecies Relations has considered this option and found it impractical," she said. "Humans have already acquired significant knowledge of Concord technology. More importantly, they have demonstrated both the will and the ability to act independently beyond their solar system. The implications hung in the air. Trying to contain humans now would likely lead to conflict, the very outcome the Concord wished to avoid. The committee proposes instead a dual approach," Ilara said. "First, we must protect ourselves from potential human aggression. Second, we must channel human military capabilities in ways that benefit the Concord rather than threaten it." The final vote appeared on the great display above Ilara's head. The chamber fell silent as the numbers appeared: 201 in favor, 31 opposed, 2 abstentions. Galactic Law 714 is hereby enacted. Ilara's voice carried clearly through the hushed chamber. "It shall be prohibited for any Concord member to provoke or engage in hostile actions against humans of Earth." In the viewing section, Director Vasquez kept her expression neutral despite her quiet satisfaction. The law effectively granted humanity special status within the Concord, a recognition of power rather than just formal equality. Furthermore, Ilara continued, humans are reclassified from provisional members to autonomous military consultants. This second announcement caused an even greater stir. Provisional status meant supervision and restrictions. Consultant status meant partnership and access. As the session concluded, Vasquez made her way through crowds of representatives, many of whom created space around her as she passed, a subtle but unmistakable sign of their new caution around humans. That evening, Commander Zelia found High Counselor Ilara alone in one of the private observation lounges that overlooked the capital city's glittering skyline. "I wanted to discuss the Council's decision privately," Zelia said without formal greeting. Ilara nodded. "I expected you would." "This is unprecedented," Zelia argued, pacing the small room. "No species has ever been granted such status without centuries of integration. We're essentially admitting we fear them." "With good reason," Ilara replied, her gaze fixed on the distant lights of the city. "Our xenobiologists have completed their assessment of human psychology. Their findings are troubling." Ilara activated a small projector, displaying brain scans of various species. "All Concord species show similar patterns. Our brains evolved to prioritize social harmony, cooperation, and consensus. Violence is possible, but requires overriding natural impulses." She changed the display to human brain scans. "Humans are different. Their threat response systems are highly developed. Their brains release pleasure chemicals when they overcome challenges or defeat competitors." "You're saying violence is natural to them," Zelia stated uneasily. "Our xenobiologists believe humans evolved in an environment that required constant vigilance against predators and competing tribes. Their entire neurological structure is optimized for warfare." Zelia stared out at the peaceful city below. For thousands of years, the Concord had expanded through diplomacy and cultural exchange. The idea of a species that evolved through force was difficult to comprehend. "And now we've given them access to Concord technology," Zelia said quietly. The implications were clear. Humans had demonstrated remarkable ability to adapt alien technology to their own purposes. They had already incorporated Concord principles into their weapons and defenses. Ilara nodded grimly. "Let's hope we never give them reason to use it against us." The emergency broadcast interrupted all Concord communications with a harsh, repeated tone designed to cut through any background noise. "This is not a drill," announced a calm voice that nonetheless carried unmistakable urgency. "Sectors 7 through 12 have fallen to voidborne forces. All civilian vessels are ordered to evacuate immediately." On thousands of worlds across the Concord, beings of every description stopped and listened with growing horror. The voidborne were not supposed to be real. They were a theoretical threat, a hypothetical enemy used in strategic planning exercises. But they were real. The voidborne, a collective consciousness controlling billions of bioengineered warriors, had arrived from beyond the galactic rim. Early reports described their ships as massive organic structures that seemed to breathe and pulse. Their weapons were biological, firing streams of corrosive compounds that ate through Concord shields as if they were paper. Commander Zelia stood in the central command center, watching as red warning indicators spread across the galactic map. Concord defenses, designed for small-scale peacekeeping operations, crumbled before the voidborne onslaught. "How did we miss this?" Zelia demanded, her normally composed voice breaking with emotion. "They came through the void rift," her tactical officer explained. "We had minimal sensor coverage there. By the time we detected them, they had already established a foothold." 3 days later, High Counselor Ilara called an emergency session of the Concord Council. The Grand Chamber, usually orderly and dignified, was in chaos. Many representatives attended via holographic projection, unable or unwilling to leave their homeworlds during the crisis. Ilara raised her arms for silence, but it took several minutes for the panic-stricken discussions to quiet. "The situation is grave," Ilara admitted once she could be heard. "Our forces are retreating on all fronts. 17 major worlds have already fallen. Billions of citizens are displaced. "What do the Voidborn want?" called out a representative. "According to our xenobiologists, they don't want anything in the way we understand," Ilara explained. "They are a biological superorganism. They expand because expansion is their nature. They consume because consumption is their purpose." The chamber erupted again in fearful discussion. Ilara waited patiently until she could continue. "Our conventional defenses have proven ineffective against their biological technology. Our weapons cannot penetrate their organic shields. Our strategies cannot counter their hive mind coordination." Ilara paused, looking around the chamber at the representatives of the Concord's many species. Each had evolved through cooperation rather than conflict. Their societies valued consensus, not confrontation. For thousands of years, this had been their strength. Now it was their weakness. "We need the humans," Counselor Ilara admitted finally. The statement hung in the air. Many representatives shifted uncomfortably. "The humans have no experience with interstellar warfare," objected the Nereid representative. "Neither did we," Ilara countered, "until 7 days ago." Within hours, the Council's request for military assistance reached Earth. In the Strategic Command Center beneath New Geneva, Director Vasquez and General Chen reviewed the Concorde's desperate plea. "They're scared," Chen observed, studying the transmission. "With good reason," Vasquez replied. "The Voidborn are consuming their worlds one by one. Their military doctrine isn't equipped for this kind of threat. And ours is." Vasquez smiled thinly. "Warfare is in our DNA, General. It's time to show the galaxy what that really means." Earth's response surprised the Concorde. Instead of the expected diplomatic delay, humans deployed immediately. Not just a token force, but their entire combined fleet, 500 ships carrying the most elite soldiers from every nation on Earth. More surprising still was what these ships carried. In the 5 years since first contact, humanity had not been idle. While sharing culture and art with the Concorde, they had been quietly adapting alien technology for their own purposes. The ships that arrived to defend Concorde worlds carried weapons systems the Concorde had never imagined. On the first engagement at Proxima Centauri, the human fleet demonstrated tactics that shocked both allies and enemies. Instead of the coordinated, predictable defense patterns used by Concorde forces, humans employed chaos and deception. They attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously. They used smaller ships as bait to draw Voidborn vessels into carefully planned ambushes. They employed electronic warfare to confuse the hive mind's coordination. Most importantly, they adapted rapidly, changing tactics as soon as the Voidborn began to counter them. Director Vasquez stood before the Concorde Council 3 months later. The emergency had passed. The Voidborn had been pushed back beyond the galactic rim, their high ships destroyed or scattered, their cohesion broken. "On behalf of humanity, I thank the Concorde for the opportunity to serve as your defenders," Vasquez said formally. High Counselor Ilara stepped forward. "It is we who must thank you, Director. Without Earth's intervention, the Concorde would have fallen. We were merely fulfilling our role as military consultants," Vasquez replied with a slight smile. The council chamber, once filled with fear of human aggression, now buzzed with grateful appreciation. The same warlike nature that had alarmed them was now recognized as their salvation. After the formal ceremony, Commander Zalia approached Vasquez privately. "There's something I've been wondering," Zalia said. "How did your forces adapt so quickly to fighting the Voidborn? Even with your species' natural aptitude for warfare, the speed of your response was remarkable." Vasquez studied the commander thoughtfully before responding. "Earth's history is filled with existential threats, Commander. We've learned to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The moment we joined the galactic community, our strategists began developing contingencies for every conceivable threat, including hive mind invasions." Zalia's 4 eyes widened slightly. "You anticipated the Voidborn before they arrived." "Not specifically," Vasquez admitted, "but something like them. Humanity has a gift for imagining monsters. It's how we prepare to face them. As Vasquez departed, Zelia turned to find High Counselor Ilara watching from nearby. I understand now why you supported Law 714, Zelia said quietly. Ilara nodded. The humans have a saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. We needed to decide which category they belonged in. And now, Ilara gazed at the retreating form of Director Vasquez. Now we understand the true meaning of another human saying. Thank the stars, they're on our side.